Hi, everyone. It's me again. I'm here to talk to you about mixed reality and how it can affect us in different ways and how we can build better tutorials using mixed reality. Hello. So I don't know if you've seen this movie, but in this one and many other ones, we see all of these gliding screens that we can interact with and find information in the exact time and exact place that we need. This is an actual reality. In US today, HoloLens, which is an augmented reality glass, is FDA approved, which means that it was tested and approved to be used in surgeries. And if you think about it, this is one of the best use cases of augmented reality. Maybe you are not a superhero, but you need a lot of information in a very particular time without using your hands, hopefully maybe by speaking and interacting with it. Also, I work at Microsoft. So at Microsoft, we built some tools on top of the Dynamic 365, which lets you create tutorials or instructions in real time, in 3D spaces. So this is one of the demos that I actually tried. What happens is that you are creating this tutorial by just dragging things to the right place in the machinery, and then you can add any kind of information to it. And once you start working with it, you can create navigations to other places and pick up more tools and add instructions to how you can work with those tools. This is a ready-made application. And maybe you're not flying over any bridges anytime soon, but this technology has been built into some of the motorcycles in a way that you could see any kind of other vehicles around you, and then you would get the information about your speed and anything else that you would need. It's not widely used, but it's been built and it's been created as a product. The other thing that we have as at Microsoft for Dynamic 365 is remote assist. There's many times you have someone that knows exactly what you're working with and knows the machinery that you're working with, or maybe it might be the code, but they're not close to you. You could do Skype, of course. You can share your screens if you're a developer, but if you're fixing something very complicated like this one, you really want that person to be able to see what you're seeing at the same time. My name is Ayşegül, and I'm a cloud developer advocate for Microsoft and Azure for mixed reality and spatial computing. I work with lots of mixed reality headsets and also Kinect. So let me explain what the mixed reality is. It's a very confusing term. All these terms are flying around: virtual reality, augmented reality. And the way we see it is it's a range, it's a spectrum. On one end, you have virtual reality, which is an ability for you to completely cut yourself out of your environment and live in a virtual environment. It works great when your colleagues are having some meetings. And augmented reality means adding to your reality. That could be only sound. It could be directions, Google Maps directions, but also it could be visual. One of my favorite apps is Google Maps Live View. If you haven't tried it, I strongly recommend it. What happens is you still see your map, but anytime you hold it in front of you, it tells you which direction you need to go. Many times you come out of a train station and you have no idea which way to go. And it gives you that little tiny dot over there, which is blinking, which tells you you are not looking at it. You have to turn to the side. It's very subtle, it's very well designed. I really like it. So there's many different ways of adding to our reality, and that's why we call it mixed reality. So why is it important? Because us humans, we evolved to interact with 3D spaces and animations, and we have so much information right now, and this is how we are dealing with it in a way. It's really hard to digest this information and make smart decisions. Imagine an airport, a person who is responsible from your flight, your safety, is looking at the data in a very small screen in a 2D, which is an abstraction of all of the information that's in actual 3D space. I would really want them to be looking at something like this so that they understand it better and they can comprehend it much faster. And CSS is hard enough. Like, how are we supposed to do this? Thankfully, there are so many libraries that are very helpful. And when you're learning something new, it's really hard to know where to get started. And I have the hardest time learning the tools, basically. Not the language itself, but the tools that comes with it is really hard. But before we get to the tools, is it ready? And unfortunately not. You can see, if you go to caniuse.com, you can see the progress of it. These are all of the new APIs that are being added over time. And unfortunately, iOS Safari is not doing good, not doing anything at all. But Chrome is doing very good, and also Firefox. So it will be available sometime soon in the future. Unfortunately, it's been very, very slow. So what we do today to try to use it is, for example, you can go to Chrome Canary and type in Chrome flags, and then you can search for all of the new APIs, XR and VR APIs, and then you can enable them manually. But, I mean, what's that mean for your users? If you are going to create an app today, are you going to tell all of your users to do this? Of course, no. It's going to be really hard. So for that, Chrome came up with origin trials. So that anything that's new, I think this is specific to WebXR, but you could apply to be one of those URLs. When somebody visits your website, Chrome automatically enables those flags for you. And Firefox Reality is going to be here, I guess, by the end of this year. Right now, it's available on iOS devices. The other great option is WebXR polyfills. So these are community created open source projects that helps browsers before they implement. We can use some of the WebXR APIs. And the other very nice thing to do is make it very progressive. So your app doesn't have to be 3D. If you have only 3D capabilities on the browser, you can just have a 3D viewer. And if you have a XR, like augmented reality capabilities, which is the floor example, where you can detect the surfaces, then you can have that, give that option to your users, or you can give a virtual reality option. Native development is doing so much better because most of our newer phones have all of the AR capabilities, and they're very, very strong. The unfortunate thing is we don't have access to it on the web. But we can still write JavaScript. Native script is a great option. Babylon.js is coming up with Babylon Native very soon. It's in progress, and it's open source, so you can check it out. And Execute XR and Enclude are two different options where you could create JavaScript files and then run it in devices. And if you wanted to kind of wander outside of JavaScript, what you can do is try Unity 3D, which is a visual tool, UI tool, for designers, but it also gives you the capabilities to write code. It used to have JavaScript capabilities, but unfortunately, they deprecated it, and it's .NET. And Unreal Engine is another option for if you want to just drag and drop things. It's a great option. But also, it gives you the C file at the end of it. today I'm going to talk about JavaScript and WebXR, and these are the libraries. Babylon.js, 3.js, and AR.js are three of the very popular libraries that we can use today. I did talk about 3.js many times, so if you are looking for it, it's a very popular library. You can find a lot of tutorials. The important thing is the Angular integration. So I mentioned everything is changing, and we have to be careful. Everything is going to change in the future, too. These are all the APIs that are work in progress at the moment. They're changing rapidly. So we have heard today many times the importance of using libraries, importance of separating our code. So this is one of the points that I want to emphasize again and again. Because things are changing very rapidly, I have to change my code many times. And I do try different libraries in different times. So if you look at the one on the left, I have multiple services. One of them is 3.js, one of them is Babylon.js. So I try them in a service, and that's what I use as a function in my components. So I never create things inside the components, and then that way I don't have to repeat it. Even better thing to do is create libraries. So in this one, it might be hard to see from there, but I do have some Babylon application to demo the Babylon capabilities. Also have different UI libraries for Babylon, 3.js, and XR features. You can check them out in these links. So today, I have an AR.js example. And what we have in our component is just one service function that we are using to initialize an AR scene. But we can also take a lot of inputs to our components and change what we are showing according to that. And everything happens in the service. All of the functions that you see here are implemented in the code base. You can take a look. But I just wanted to point out one very important thing, which is the request animation frame. How many of you have ever used request animation frame? Very few. Request animation frame is not just for animations. It's also a great tool to increase the rendering. But in this case, for any visual stuff, it's helping us to create the animation very smoothly and 60 frames per second. And that's the speed that we understand as a smooth transition. So this, whatever is inside the request animation frame, is very, very important. It has to be really, really performant because it's going to run 60 times per second. And the other cool thing that it does is it stops rendering if somebody is using another tab on the same browser, and saves some battery for you. So I have the AR.js functions over here, and I just wanted to run it and demo it because it's really, it gets really complicated sometimes. So I have a Pixel phone, and developer mode is enabled. If you look at, if you never use the remote devices, if you go to the Chrome DevTools and then More Tools, you can find the remote devices. From there, you have to plug in your phone with the developer mode on. And you have to set the port forwarding. So this is a little interesting. You have to type twice the local host and then the port number here. So these are all the ports that I usually test with. And once you have that, you can just click on the device, and then you have an option to inspect here different sites, or reload or focus. So I'm going to reload it. And see what happens. All right. Try it again. I'm using Chrome Canary because it has better capabilities when it comes to the AR, VR. It has the latest and the greatest. All right. This part is really not so much fun because, yay, OK. So I mentioned the tutorials, and this hero images or little tags you can use to put information and display information on top of it. I forgot to print it, but you can print these images and put it into in places where you need to display more information. Because we don't have the thing called spatial anchors on browsers implemented yet, this is a great option to be able to attach information to surfaces. And this hero image is very easy to make, and it doesn't have to look exactly like this one. You can train different images, and you can even put your logo in it or have a QR code in it. There are online QR code makers, hero image makers, and then once you have them, you add them as a file. Here, they are just numbers. And then what you do with AR.js is look for that specific QR code or hero image to display any kind of surface. So this way, you could create maybe wayfinding or any other tutorial that you need to have in a 3D space. But as I mentioned, augmented reality is not just visual. You can add speech, and by being able to talk to any kind of interface, you are adding to your reality as well. And it's a great way to add some accessibility to your applications. Language translation and computer vision is the two other great tools. With computer vision, you are able to detect faces or detect objects from the environment, and then you can use search and bring more information into real space. Using all of these technologies, one of our coworkers created this great application. Let's see if we could hear it. I guess we can't hear it. I'll dub it for you. This is my coworker, Sakib. He used to live in London. Now he lives in the US. He became blind later in his life. And as a passionate software engineer, he decided to create some solutions for himself. And this was his vision to create Seeing AI. It's an app that's being used by many blind people, especially in the US, hopefully here too. What it does is, right now, taking a picture of the environment, and then with the vision APIs, AI APIs, he's able to describe the scene and know what's happening around him. And the other thing that he's doing is taking a picture of the menus, and even handwritten notes is easily detectable by using the Vision AI. And the other thing is that you can have is emotions and age and gender. And while he's talking right now, I can't really see you. He is at least taking a picture and getting some feedback from his environment. I have some resources for you. This one is a collection repo of everything that you need for designing and developing mixed reality experiences and all of the resources. Hope you do check it out. And if you want to see the demo from today, it's the first one. And I have more demos with different libraries, as well as the VR demos. So I hope you use all of this information, and I hope I made you a little bit curious about mixed reality, and you get to delve in it sometime soon, and hope you do something nice with it. Thank you.